Hello, everybody. We're here in the North American Strikers Academy right now on Demon Dies. We're going to be kicking off this series of Polar Cortex versus, I believe, the Flying Blobbos. And as we get into it, we've got some awakenings here, right? The Stinger, incredibly strong here on this Vice, which I is piloting. But on the flip side, we've got Size, which is going to be good on all these brawlers. Pensando is going to be playing his on this FINII right now, which I think is going to be interesting. A very big question mark that we have seen with Pensando, especially out of qualifiers, is can you take advantage of Pensando's character pool, right? We saw Weasel of Bees qualify for Nassau using that strategy, where if he does not get the Now or the Juno, he's a little bit stuck. And we'll see if he'll be able to make use of this FINII coming into it, as even though it's an incredibly strong pick on the map, it is very abusable, especially if this X gets in the right position.
Yeah, most definitely. And the thing about Polar Cortex in particular is how they've been able to have a consistent offense in a lot of their games. They're usually very threatening. So that's where that X comes in, that's where that Vice comes in. They're usually very scary when they put up a united front. So if they can navigate this Flying Blobbos, then they'll be in good shape. But that first goal, not very auspicious for them, but it's still just the first goal. We have to see if they can come back from that.
Yeah, good first point here for Polar Cortex. Part of that already, the damage ramping up. Something that even in set one, the side of the Flying Blobbos are going to have to respect. And they're going to have to respect in general, right? These, we're at the end of, we're going to be in week number 3 right now, but we're reaching the end of kind of this, the end of the beginning for the North American Strikers League Season 6. And what you do not want to be right now is winless, which is currently what describes the Flying Blobbos' position here in the North American Strikers Academy. If they do not get this win, which it isn't looking good right now, 2 goals in for Polar Cortex, it's going to be scary going into the rest of the regular season. Yeah, is essentially you got to find a win by week 3, or else your chances of making it to playoffs really plummet. You have to play essentially perfectly going in to the latter 2/3 of the regular season. But another thing on the list as well, right? Polar Cortex 1-1 right now, wants to, set their chances up, but 2-1 is an incredibly respectable position to have coming into week number 4, and they're looking to do it. So right now, I believe, name Chaotic, I believe, or is it Zyre? I can't remember. I have the name off bug, so I believe one of them, whoever is piloting the X right now, has been doing a phenomenal job right now getting it through Pensando, which again is the big question mark of the series. Can Pensando perform on uncomfortable goalies? And so far the answer has been a no.
Yeah, that is very good on Firemanden's part to be able to get that opening and just make what was basically a clean shot there. But I do have to agree with you in that Polar Cortex in general, with Name Chaotic piloting that X, they have been largely in control so far for this set, and they have been racking up a lot of damage. You can see Zyre is already looking very low. Name Chaotic taking a little bit on their part as well, because, it's Juliet. She's not going to go quietly into that good night, but X is usually a monster, and it takes a concentrated effort like what you just saw there in order to get him to back off. So if Flying Blobbos cannot handle that kind of output like that, then it's just going to get worse from here, especially when the Awakenings step in and they start scaling up.
100%. And after getting multiple KOs, the Fool and I are going to be looking really good going to draft. They're going to be the ones with the MVP, and that means things like the heavy impacts, right, come to play. Things like cooldown, things like stagger deny are all things that are going to have a monumental amount of impact, especially on Demon Die, right? It's a very KO-centric map, especially before the barriers go down. So we'll see what can happen, as it is a very crucial set to win with so many potential question marks. So right now, a good big finish from FINII from Pensando is going to get the clear forward. Almost able to snipe it away with a power chord, but does not find that final goal. The Fool able to get a comfortable clear top side, but now has to defend a little bit harder as the Juliet is there. Zyre here, which, by the way, it is Zyre. Oh! The Fool, actually, an amazing presence of mind, amazing awareness of where he can take that shot, snipes away, a goalie goal comes through, and sets over.
Yeah, very impressive, like on-the-spot realization from the Fool. Certainly no Fool making that kind of goal. Very nice angle to boot, and got a lot of things to be rewarded. I'm seeing like built different or big fish, either or honestly works for him. Most likely built different for that Rasmus, as well as big fish, probably for like the Juliet. I mean, Deadeye for the Vice as well. That's kind of like a scary overall setup, I feel, for Polar Cortex overall more than anything else. Yeah, specialized training on the X, scary, scary, scary. Though, not to say Flying Blobbos got nothing, certainly not. Monumentalist, Fight or Flight, Big Fish, good shouts all around. Although, just with how they've been playing, I would still go for Cortex.
And one thing as well, I actually really dislike this one choice that Flying Blobbos made, and that instead of going Fight or Flight on the now, it feels like Flying Blobbos opted into taking the Monumentalist on the now, which denies it from their own FINII, which, for those of you who are familiar with FINII on this map, FINII goalie incredibly strong, because if she gets that Monumentalist, especially against a Rasmus goalie of all things, there is a very, very little counterplay to that. So any offense formed by the Flying Blobbos could have immediately been converted into something much more, but instead they're going to give that over to the now, which is something I don't think is going to be super worthwhile. The Fight or Flight just going to be as good, especially in those open maps. So I didn't like that choice from them, but they are the players down here. We'll see if it costs them, because as of right now, Pensando is playing up very aggressive, able to get those goalie barriers. And we now see an open now. Name Chaotic actually loses out on the flip and the strike ward to Zaire. Zaire putting that in for the Flying Blobbos. So a good start here in the second set for Flying Blobbos.
Yeah, very nice. Although I do agree with you in theory about FINII getting that FINII getting the Monumentalist. It feels as though everybody kind of just opted for general best in slot, and they were like, well, we all know Manu now is kind of like the thing, and Fight or Flight is just good in general, so better just give the Fight or Flight over to FINII, let now have Manu, and try and basically direct traffic on their part, as now is generally want to do. And hopefully that will allow them a lot more scoring opportunities. But that's only if this insane damage that's coming out does not prevent them from setting up.
Yeah, and I think Zaire is going on a tear right now. Got the Fool's recovery drone, got his flip, got the goal regardless. Near perfect positioning, even though the Fool had a very amazing death touch to get that core. Zaire is on a tear right now, got those goalie barriers early right now, which leads me to think that that seems to be the win condition for the Flying Blobbos. If you could let Zaire play his game, make sure that this damage doesn't affect him too much, use that now to heal him up, there's a very potential chance that this Zaire can 1v3 this game. And that being said, though, both forwards of Flying Blobbos already taking hefty punishment. No evade to Zaire's name. This is going to be a very dangerous situation. But as of right now, Zaire is playing phenomenally. Good big finish here by Pensando as well. Able to get that final goalie barrier. Zaire actually going to survive. It's going to be taken out instead here on the flip side. Death touch not going to find. It's Mark. Zaire, this dash punch come through. Looks scary. Fool, though, narrowly winning that strike war, using the size to his advantage. Power cord comes through, gets some damage here onto the now, but not much more than that. Now Zaire going to be staggered here, but he makes the strike. Gets a perfect pass setup here by Pensando, sends it where the Fool is least expecting it, and that's going to be Flying Blobbos firing back with a 3-0 set.
Very impressive on what was initially looking like a bit of a struggling match, but they did get the awakenings that they wanted, and they figured out their game plan, which is just get the core to Zaire and let it rock. So if that, like, FINII got the MVP, but in my opinion, it was Zaire doing a lot of that work there. So by all means, if they can, then go for it. Although I am surprised that Zaire went for Spark of Leadership over Might of the Colossus.
Yeah, absolutely agreed on that. Already has the big fish from the previous set. Not to mention the Among Titans. It really could have been a breakaway pickup for this Juliet. Probably would have given him upwards of 40 power, if I remember correctly, 30 or 40 power. So Definitely interesting to see Zaire take that away. I guess he just wants to opt into an insurance plan here with the Spark. I'm not too sure if that'll actually pay off, but seems to be the plan nonetheless.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was looking at. I was trying to think about why they would go for that, and that's about what I would guess. You put it very nicely. I was thinking, well, maybe just gonna try and go for like a bit of a Spark build, and you know, try and like you said, a bit of an insurance plan, share the wealth there. But whether that will, like you said, whether that insurance is gonna pay out or not, we'll see. I'm not super convinced, but that if you want to talk about Sparks, you did notice that that was the second draft, no Sparks on the field. So so thinking about that, I can kind of see that logic of, well, they're bound to show up sometime. So maybe that's their thought process.
Yeah, I can see that, especially because you're going to want to contest this X Vice scaling. The damage is ramping up very quickly, and any source of stagger, even if it is small from the Spark leadership, can pay off in dividends. But right now it's got to get to that point. The X here with the flip for name Chaotic, not going to actually find it. A good dash actually found from Zaire, going to blow the Fool's flip here. So right now though, the X Maximus comes through, flip has to be used defensively, super duper unfortunate. The FINII going to walk away, only one punch taken. The flip now through from Zaire, a bit of a Kaz angle, but seems like the Now there is able to finish it for the Flying Blobbos. The good Now mine comes through, and Fire Madden's able to sink in that goal.
Yeah, that one was a bit, let's call it a bit haphazard, but they did manage to come through. They did manage to make it work. Fire Madden in the right place, right time, and a good mine allowed them to get that point there. And you can see there is a bit more control and a bit more damage happening on the side of the Flying Blobbos. I think ever since they did figure out that idea of, you know, try and feed it to Zaire and let Zaire do Zaire things on that Juliet, they feel a lot more confident, they look a lot more confident, and they're able to basically give a lot more of a challenge to these midfield struggles, these midfield scrambles.
Zaire is absolutely cooking right now, and he's going to be looking to carry this momentum. He's been able to win against the Fool in so many interactions, which Fool, a very storied goalie, once under the name of Zorro, right? But just incredible play coming out from the brawler of the Flying Blobbos, and because of that, they're on their march here to victory. Potential final point of the set coming through as they're going to go down on the defense. Going to be knocked out of the map, which feels like for the millionth time. As again, the Now gonna walk and sniff the core, only to take 8 more billion damage off of that, as the Fool now finds himself with possession of the core. Gonna be coming back up. The power cord sends it through, only gets a little bit of damage. That's good striking here from the Juliet. Both barriers are now gonna be down. It's gonna be up to name Chaotic to sink this one in if he can get his hands on the core, but that story may never come to pass. He's gonna be sent back to his only goal net. He loses his recovery drone. Dash punch comes through. Good evade though to catch out that flip from the Juliet from Zaire here. Now has possession of the core. The X-Max has come through. Actually gets stopped by Big Finish. The Fool now going to be forced to play defensively here. A good death touch prevents the Juliet from getting anything set up. Stroke War 1 though by Zaire gets sent down. Pendulum swing is going to be there though, as Zaire once again finds possession of the core. They're now not going to be sent off the map with the Supernova. Named Chaotic desperately trying to get possession of the core, not going to find it. Gets a pass from A though. This may be it. No, the Bull Rush could be denied here by the FINII card. As again, the Now mine comes through, pitches the core backwards. The Fool trying to play a little bit more aggressive to get this core forward, to help his forwards, but it's not going to pay off just quite yet. Pensando has the flip, has the tools to work with. Big Finish going to come again in just a second. The flip's going to be there. Named Chaotic not going to find the strike that he wants. A good tap touch by the Fool though. Keeps Zaire from getting the strike that he wants. Dash punch comes through. Dribble comes through. Going to be interrupted by A. Now overtime is here and waiting. Name Chaotic potentially with a flip. The Big Finish is there. It's just not getting the Name Chaotic, and he needs to get it fast or else he's going to lose it. And yes, that he does. He's going to be sent off the map with a Bull Rush at the perfect time. Gets enough opportunities. Sends it in. Had to play so defensively, so scared of the damage that the Flying Blobbos were able to pull out, but that is a point on the board for Polar Cortex.
And for that core had some trouble getting beyond the midfield, and when it did, it was very quickly kicked out on both sides, just like how both sides looked like they were about to lose both their goal barriers here. But they did manage to pull that through, did Polar Cortex. But you can see that Flying Blobbos are very aware that Name Chaotic getting the core, no bueno. They do not want that to happen. And beautiful interaction from Zyre to take the set. Went one-on-one with the Fool, managed to knock it through, beat what seemed to be like a little bit of a strike war there, and they are getting rewarded for it. I am seeing a spark of strength on the board, and you know they don't want that, but there's too much, I think, for that Rasmus to really go for denying it.
And even though the bulk up would have liked to have gone to that Julia, actually doesn't take the Spark of Dream, goes for a prize fighter instead. I think that's a little bit of a curious pickup. I mean, even though it only is 2 sparks and your other spark is Spark of Leadership, right? A little bit weak. I think it is a bit weird to pass up on it. Instead, the X going to be the one to get it, and bringing him up to a whopping 160 power, only narrowly outmatching the Fool's power, which is 159 himself. This is a lot of damage potentially coming through all of a sudden for the side of Polar Cortex. That being said, the AA feels like he's been in this familiar position all too much here on Demon Dice. Despite being the Vice, the damage is just going on to him all the time.
Yeah, for sure. It's been some curious draft picks, I will say that. But it's basically on them on how to adapt, and you can see Name Chaotic trying to push through. Zyre already was looking like a little bit low there, and I am kind of a little bit baffled as to why they didn't just deny the spark and go for like the spark of strength there. It seemed like I get the prize fighter pick. It just seemed like it would have been a better overall choice for them.
Yeah. I guess Zyre looking to kind of find a win condition, really saying like, hey, I'm going to pop off with these KOs now. If that happens, it's a game, so I'm not going to need Spark anyways. But that is not what's happening right now, right? Right now, he's actually the run, right? Zyre is the one that's going to have his recovery drone popped, and that's going to be a little scary. As a good dribble from Name Chaotic, right idea, I think, to take the flip here, try to bait it out. But as of right now, we're in overtime. This is going to be a hot shot FINII, and the core speed is going to be a little bit scary here. Not to mention the team player on A as well here. The Supernova comes through, almost takes out Zyre with just raw, just takes the hit. But as of right now, Name Chaotic here with the X Maximus gets the strike and sends it too fast, I think, for the hit stun recovery to account for. 1 point here for Name Chaotic.
Yeah, no, I feel like giving away that strength was kind of a rough play. And the reason I say that is just because the strength is absolute. The strength is you just have it. But prize fighter is if. Prize fighter is an if. And in general, you always want to go for sure things, consistent and persistent over ifs, if possible. So I don't know about that, but moving on from that, you can see that Zyre is kind of feeling the heat from that, looking very low again, and nearly gets the KO, but it's not Zyre that dies. Never mind.
Yeah, that is the spec training. The flip comes through from FINII. This is a 0-stack Juliet. No, the Fool. Unfortunately, the Whiplash relied a little bit too much on it. The card almost scores it, but sound barriers are there to save the day. That being said, it's not out of the woods yet for the Flying Blobbos, as they have to actually score this goal for that defense to mean anything. The triple take going to come through. X now trying to find possession of the core. The Bull Rush actually going to come through and be denied by the Sentry here. Overtime coming through. Whiplash sends the core flying away. The Supernova going to deny a lot of space, but the core actually finds its way past it. Zyre now with the opportunity to strike comes through, but just enough move speed from the Fool. Flip comes through as well. Name Chaotic finds the strike out. Dash punch a little bit scary, but got to be cleared away. Now it needs to just get in the hands of this flip. The straight shot's going to be found, but no, Zyre denied the opportunity. This Rasmus is a little bit big. Flip comes through, sent into the bottom side of the net. Name Chaotic going on a tear in his own right. Finds 2 points so far this set and looking to make a comeback for Polar Cortex.
Beautiful setup there. Just got the flip, forced 50-50, and Gonzalo just guessed a little too slow. So good on Name Chaotic for being able to fight through that and being able to push there. And you can see that they do have a bit of a idea for like their defense. In particular, I do want to mention like the Fool, who has been having some great positioning and some great usage of the hook, the death touch, because a lot of the time, a lot of people like to try and use Rasmus's death touch for just kind of like redirecting the core or playing as kind of like a redirection mine for the core somehow. But the Fool hasn't been doing that, although, you know, like not so much of a great situation there. Zyre managing to get the better of that. Just to finish the thought, the Fool has been doing a lot of pulling Zyre or whoever gets close to him out of position to get the core so that they can get it, which is great awareness and great heads-up play. But they do need to make it, you know, work out. They do need to get these goals and not have their forwards die.
Yeah, absolutely agreed, and that's going to be a bit rough because that's a prize fighter back on the Juliet, a very important 23 hours. So bring up the Juliet to the 141, but that being said, Supernova comes down immediately, followed by Whiplash, and again, Zyre is going to be forced to play defensively. The Pendulum Swing, actually, or sorry, the Death Touch actually going to be there. Doesn't say his Eye's Life, but yeah, doesn't even deny the stack either, actually. So that being said, named Chaotic able to find 1 KO, bringing it back to 1 stack, 9 seconds here for the revive of Zyre. A going to find his way back. Now the power cord comes through, able to intercept that, clear. The big finish is going to be there, though, but it's going to be cleared out with the help of Fire Madden. Dash Punch come through, takes away named Chaotic's recovery drone. Overtime is now in effect. The Supernova comes through. Pendulum Swing just to potentially give it forward, but now Pensando going to be spending some crucial time here in the death box. The dribble's there, but the Kaz angle comes through. An amazing Demon angle coming through. Almost it, and a good heads-up dash punch, but it's going to be defended away by the Fool. Now Flip comes through for the Fool, and Pensando, an excellent sentry drone, ramps the pressure up. The strike found by named Chaotic. Amazing shot, actually, into the top side of the net, winning the strike war against Pensando. And that's going to be the set. Named Chaotic earning himself the MVP. We'll see what draft has here.
Immediately seeing like Spark of Agility. It's a little bit late to go for like full sparks, but 1-2 punch and Ad Rush also very good options. Goes for the Spark of Agility, not too surprising there. And really, just the way that Polar Cortex has been playing, this was a scary, scary draft because this is a lot of stuff that Polar Cortex likes and wants.
Yeah, absolutely agreed, actually. And the big thing that I am looking at coming into this final set is that adrenaline rush, especially on Demon Dies, no matter who you are. If you are a character that could do damage, FINII is most certainly capable of doing damage. That is going to be very scary. That not only can snowball into more prize fighter stacks, right, but he can outright win the game with the movement speed that it provides. So if that actually ends up coming to pass, that is a full win condition. But as of right now, Pensando is going to be the one actually taken out. Very low stagger for this Juliet as well. The core speed actually a little scary, almost ends that point right away. Now the Flame Flurry comes through. No dash to work with, no dodge to work with, no evade, no health, no food, no shelter. As the dash doesn't find the KO, but the Adrenaline Rush is now procced, as well as a prize fighter stack for the Juliet. 164 power here to Zyre's name. They're not able to find this final point. The dash punch is there. No, actually the flip comes through from good striking from Zyre, but now Supernova is here and gonna actually send Pensando into another KO grave. Flame Flurry comes through, overtimes here, the dash comes through, sends the core away. Pensando has the flip, sends it over to Zyre, but it's gonna be immediately intercepted by the team player. So scary in this situation. The pass back to the Fool just to ramp up the play. The Sentry Drone not able to find it either. As the the Bell Ringer is what actually sends it right in. Named Chaotic finds one opportunity serendipitously and puts it in. 1 point for Polar Cortex.
Yeah, that core speed is getting way out of control, and I have to say that Polar Cortex, they definitely have all the tools they need to win this. So do Flying Blobbos, if I'm being real with you. But it seems like Polar Cortex does kind of have a bit more conscious control over what they're trying to do now. I think that spark scaling helped them. I think that 1-2 punch helped. Just there's a lot of damage being thrown around on both sides. But you can see that who's making kind of like the most of it better. It does tend to be Polar Cortex, though Eye is looking like very low. Has to like leave for a little bit in order to get some health back. So we need to see if Flying Blobbos can kind of like survive this onslaught, or if this is if this is the dagger.
My eyes right now are on Zaire, fully stacked, 2 prize fighters to his name. You are not going to get much stronger here as a Juliet with 2 sides, 164 power. You have to find an opportunity right now. But right now, the Fool making sure it doesn't even get to that point, playing so far forward and using the advantage of Erasmus's range to make sure that this Juliet does not get the core. Flip comes through, going to be defended away though by Pensando and, Fire Madden. Zaire now finds possession of the core, immediately taken away. Just Zaire cannot find a clean opportunity to find a good 1v1 against the Fool, and it is costing the Flying Blobbos dearly, but finally he gets it. The dash comes through for Zaire, takes it through, and the Patience War goes the way of the Brawler. Going to be an even up set here.
This is going to be a struggle, I feel like, for each and every point, unless somebody gets like a massive breakaway. Not just like your usual, okay, I got a one-on-one, I got to play here, because both teams are very capable defensively. Although, as I say that, Flip, like, Flame Flurry, Flip, and they're making a liar out of me, because that was the quickest point I believe we've had in this entire match so far.
Yeah, I agreed. No counterplay as well, notably, right? No evade from the Fool in that situation. A quick double barrier is potentially curtains for either team. As, wow, the core barely missing out on the barrier there, but what's not being missed right now is Eyes. He takes a million abilities to his face. Zaire wins 1 strike war against the Fool, but Eyes gonna actually have to teleport away. Good heads up to avoid that dash punches. That could have been curtains for the entire game. Supernova comes through, doesn't take out Zaire, but just barely keeps him alive. Name Chaotic with a flip, 1 more opportunity to defend, not gonna get it though, but now it's gonna be a midfielder traded for another midfielder. Zaire here needs to win this situation. Doesn't get the opportunity to do so though. The punch comes through, Name Chaotic though, strikes it right to Pensando, doesn't get that final goalie barrier. And this Juliet needs to stay alive. If you lose that stacks, it's going to be a game over, but the goalie barrier is down. An opportunity here for the Flying Blobbos to end this comeback here from Polar Cortex. Though Zaire with a Flame Flurry comes through, doesn't find possession of the core though, and that means that the Fool has a flip to work with, sends it up forward now. Name Chaotic gonna lose his recovery drone in this situation. The big finish gonna send the core at Mach 18, but Name Chaotic finds the strike. We're gonna be dash punch for his troubles though. Now it's a power play. A needs to survive this situation. He needs to be able to play and help his goalie now, but Juliet is able to find the core, gets the pass from Pensando, and Flying Blobbos end the game here in set number 5.
Very impressive hold by Flying Blobbos, very impressive win by Flying Blobbos, simply because they actually managed to hold on. There was a lot of offense coming their way, so they dealt it back, honestly, in good faith and good fashion, and they did manage to keep up with the damage race. If you will see here, like a little bit south, I would say, of Polar Cortex, but they made it count in other areas as well. If you take a look at like the redirects, if you take a look even like obviously at the KOs, the numbers tell a strange story, but it is one that does end up favoring the Flying Blobbos, because it doesn't matter how often you do a thing, just how effectively you do it.
Speaking just effective play, Zaire, absolute monster. I think both of us were going on and on about it throughout the game, but 9+1 is a performance that you can ignore. I think, in my books, MVP of that game, but we'll see if Zaire has the opportunity to be the MVP of the series, because we still have a second game. Now, Flying Blobbos leading 1-0, going to be looking to close it out, but obviously the Polar Cortex is going to be hot on their heels. That was a set 5, 28-minute game to start off, so I'm going to hunker in here for game number 2. And we are back here. Game number 2, following an incredibly close game number 1 that favored the Flying Blobbos. Fire Madden here going to be on the Era, which is something I'm going to be looking at. I think a lot of question marks about how strong she is actually after the micro patch nerfs. Something that I think has been seeing some bans in the North American Strikers League even after the micro patch nerfs. So see if it actually does end up showing up. This is a cast to last start, and already we're seeing a lot of action coming out. It's going to be Zaire scoring the point here With the slick kicks, Julie actually going to be taking that instead of the traditional magnetized souls. Pensando back on the now pick that he's been known with alongside that Juno. And likely very much because the Fool ended up picking the FINII here this time. And we'll see how this goalie off is going to happen. I think that both goalies are going to want to play very aggressive in this situation. And whichever goalie can kind of play that midfield role better, I think that'll enable either the Rune or the Era to really strut their stuff. And it's a bit of an explosive start here as we've got a bit of a trade.
Yeah, like, yeah, it'll be an interesting duel to show their stuff, but that's if, you know, people survive. And this is already looking like a very fast and fierce battle. Named Chaotic nearly getting taken off the map by Zyre almost immediately. So yeah, and considering this is only like the first set, we can expect a whole lot more of that. And weirdly, Pensando maybe expecting a bit of a curve from that flipped shot and not getting it, went down and just watched the course sail by. Like that had to be what I was guessing.
Saw some Rasmus hypnosis emotes come through, a bit of a mind controller, I'd say, mind controller shot. But going into this, no evade coming out. It's actually a big energy advantage for the side of Polar Cortex. Juliet, right? Zyre, I believe again, is going to be having this flip in any aggressive play. Elects to actually use it, but gets the barrier nonetheless against the Fool. Good strike actually comes through as well, sinks it in straight. And honestly, hey, 2 strikes is all it takes sometimes. Zyre is looking to continue that momentum, getting in number 1.
Yeah, just very nice on their part for Flying Blobbos to be able to pull that off. Just Zyre still very much knowing exactly what they want to do, and the matter here is just Flying Blobbos just needs to get it to them to execute it. Meanwhile, on the other hand, you have Polar Cortex that are trying a little something different. Feels like the Fool definitely knows what they're doing on that FINII, but it's still a bit of an adjustment period for them, although Named Chaotic in particular is very, very scary on that Rasmus. I mean, it's Rasmus, so that's kind of like whoever, but it's just impressive how they've been managing to control this character so far.
Good passing plays right now. Named Chaotic doing ensure that that final barrier goes down with the flip, but that leaves him in a very precarious situation. Gonna go for the score here. May actually have to cost him his life, but no. You don't die if you score the point. It's the best regeneration tool in the game. We're gonna have a completely even 0.5 here coming out in set number 1. It really looks like both of these teams are locked in and do not want to give an inch.
Yeah, they both have their game plans kind of figured out already. At the very least, that's what it seems to me. So right now, it's just who can execute their game plan better without letting the opponent execute theirs. And that sounds simple, that sounds basic, but it's much harder to enact in practice than it may seem at first blush. Very nice intercept for the barrier take from the side of Polar Cortex, and a very nice quick strike war win as the attempted clear from Pensando down the farm mat and just gets told no. Named Chaotic takes it, knocks it in, and that is the set for Polar Cortex.
Still perfect strikes could lead us in a draft. I'm looking at the 1-2 punch, which unless the FINII chooses to deny it, I don't think she is going to be a big spike here for Zyre. But I'm also looking at prime time. Cast to last prime time can make your life miserable, and yeah, with Named Chaotic is like, I don't want to deal with that. I don't have anything good here anyways, maybe outside of the explosive entrance. I do not care. I'm going to take it up. On the flip side, extra special, which I think is in an interesting spot for Era Awakening Discourse. I think there are a split of eras that would have taken Monumentalist right there, right? Not only does it deny the now, but it really enables Era's special to be an ability, right, like a real full ability. And there are those who would take the extra special because Era has an incredibly low cooldown on her special, right? I believe it's something like 18 seconds. And that makes it a lower primary, sorry, her special, well now with extra special, has a lower cooldown than some secondaries in the game. So that basically gives Era, her special, a secondary low cooldown. which even though, right, not the best special in the game by any means, can create a lot of pressure in its own right, and it just takes one good catch, really, right? You're going fishing whenever you send out this NATO, and if you make a good catch, you can immediately follow up on that, right? Zyre could find the dash punch, and that's a KO confirmed, right? That's a power play, so... I think there are two schools of thought that come to it. I'm not quite sure which of it or both. I can only lead you down the decision-making between it, but as of right now, the only decision to be made is Zyre thinking about his life choices as he sits in the KO box.
Yeah, it's definitely a matter for almost up to personal choice. Kind of depends on your playstyle. Do you want to provide like a lot more pressure with eras kind of like Tornado, or would you prefer like having bigger shots and basically having it make a more impact? It's basically quality versus quantity almost. But meanwhile, Name Chaotic not really caring about any of that. Again, a very nice intercept with a pass between these two for flying blobbos, and they do get that tying shot. So it definitely seems like they want to kind of like keep this even this whole game, because they've been operating very well and a bit differently than the first game. They seem to have definitely found like an idea of what they want to do here. So it's going to be up to Flying Blobbos to try and retaliate. Excuse me, try and retaliate and do something with this. And that could have been an opportunity right there if they had managed to knock it out of that big finish. But instead, they have to deal with this power play. So we need to see if they can survive it. No, they not quite can. And now their goal is open as well, and it's threatening.
Absolutely. Name Chaotic, this Rasmus has been popping up so far, but it's going to be A to sink it in, wins that strike war against Fire Madden Mono A Mono. Now, an advantage here, a big advantage, right? 1 point away from starting with a 2-0 lead here in game number 2. Absolutely to steal some of that momentum that they lost after game number 1. We'll see, though, is right now it's going to be Fire Madden and Zyre here on the offense. Wow, I'm forgetting the name of Era Primary. But whatever the primary coming through, not going to hit too much. It's the what?
The Witching Beam.
The Witching Beam, yes, you're so correct.
So that is definitely going to provide a little bit of help, just a little bit of core control, but any bit helps. It's the size that matters in this case for the characters, and any kind of like reduction on that, especially on someone who likes size like that Rasmus, is going to be much appreciated, as they, while like Flip does get the barrier and they do barely manage to save that from going out, they do get a life taken from them in exchange, though. So once again, a power play, and I have to say that Polar Cortex has been doing very good on getting these power plays to happen. It's just a matter of kind of connecting on these shots, on these passing plays, to kind of guarantee and make something happen of them. So very nice on them to be able to get that dribble in, knock it straight into the top corner. Name Chaotic had been on a bit of a tear lately. And again, FINII with the MVP, the Fool, taking that, which honestly, I don't know if I even agree with that. It felt to me like Name Chaotic was doing most of the work for that one. But hey, game says what it says. FINII gets a glass cannon, and I'm seeing big fish, heavy impact, fight or flight, spec training on there as well for anybody who wants it. Some very dangerous awakenings coming down.
Yeah, absolutely agreeing with Zyre picking up that spark up, just saying, hey, we're going to be MVP every single time. We're going to have first pick in draft, right? And if I get that, then I could get my guaranteed sparks. That being said, it's an incredibly big if. This is 2 size awakenings on Name Chaotic, and it's going to be hard. Pensando has already been losing some of the interactions to Name Chaotic, and it's only going to be harder, right? That pendulum swing going to be covering, half your goal arc. And so only time will tell if that ends up being the good, correct pick. But looking at it right now, though, I think the biggest one, honestly, is going to be the Fools pick up a glass cannon. Look how fast this FINII is. Just hop, skip, jump all over the place. He's going to have all the movement speed to do whatever he wants, right? And not to mention Among Titans, too. How could I forget, right? This is going to be a 600 move speed FINII basically at all times.
Yeah, just a very impressive move speed, as well as just being able to cover that sole remaining, you know, like goal barrier, it's very impressive. You can see those tornadoes are constantly going out from that era just to try and cover a little bit more area and make sure that that core has a little bit of backing to it whenever they try and make it hit that barrier. But it does seem like Flying Blobbos are aware of what they need to do to keep this core under control. They've been showing some excellent defense, and it's going to be a long trial to try and get it past like this kind of defense for Polar Cortex, really.
Yeah, look at this movement speed again, right? 558 base before any momentum boots rocks. That being said, an amazing shot off the flip from Firemadden is going to open up the goal for both teams. Big Finish interrupts the dribble dash punch, but the NATO's there. The Vanish comes through, though, unfortunate for Zaire, and it's going to be named Chaotic's opportunity. No, it's actually sent back, and I think that was an own goal off the pendulum swing from named Chaotic. Low key. Makes sense. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I think what seemed to happen there is that it red cored off the pillar, and it looked to me like Zaire barely touched it. Like managed to just throw out a strike, maybe even redirect it from the pillar, but just wasn't quite in time to stop it from hitting the pillar, but was in time to stop it from bouncing back off the pillar towards him and just got the shot.
I see. Okay, well, regardless of what happened, it did seem like Flying Blobbos got the point, and they're going to need all the points that they could get, because as of right now, it is not looking super duper close. A 2-0 lead for the side of Polar Cortex here in this situation. Zaire just fighting for his life, no stagger to work with. That means that, unless this good NATO from Fireman is going to be taking advantage of the fortunate opting to walk away from the damage instead, just scoring it in his own right. Well, that sucks. It feels like Julia really is going to struggle to get any position to core, because any time the core's going to come to him, that FINII is going to be there first.
Yeah, and even then, you can see like there's just a lot of coverage from the other two, from that rune, just throwing out pillars everywhere, and with named Chaotic still doing an excellent job of redirecting the core and keeping coverage over everywhere. It's just, it takes almost like a miracle for them to get anything off of any kind of like offensive push. Although there have been some mild moments, but it's just so hard to take advantage of them.
That makes sense. Zaire is doing an excellent job of converting when he needs to. There, does it again, and it really felt like he took that entire point with just 2 opportunities.
Yeah.
So Zaire, not wanting to be outdone by named Chaotic, who's had an amazing game in his own right, and fires back, and that means that sets you up for MVP coming this draft, and you're the one that picks Spark. You're going to be the one that's probably able to get it unless you roll incredibly unlucky. So we'll see if that does end up happening, because whether or not you make it to that next draft, still a big if, right? Both barriers going to be down for your team. Firemadden and Zaire, though, looking to answer this. The rune pillar, a little bit annoying, not to mention all the abilities flying the way of Zaire. Now the flip for named Chaotic is here. Vanish comes through, but Zaire is going to be able to walk that off. Flip does come through, but the Firewall Sentry is actually going to block it. Flip comes through. Oh my gosh, I don't know where the core is going, but it was defended away here by Pensando and crew. Flip now comes through for Zaire. A little bit too fast to mix up here with that shot. Now Pensando looking to keep the core forward, but that means he's only going to have the Sentry drone for defense, and that's all Pensando needs right now. Butterfly comes through, sends Zaire forward, able to take advantage of that. One advantage is all he needs. Zaire now potentially uses the punch there. Flame Flurry might be coming up in just a second, but he needs the core one more time, not to mention Firemadden's own flip, who unfortunately has to use it defensively. Strike War winning, going the way of named Chaotic, but now the core speed in overtime is a little bit scary to contest with. A sending the pillar forward, Sentry Drone going to knock away named Chaotic before he has the opportunity to score. Pensando, a critical Strike War win here in the triple take, not able to keep the core away. Juliet now one more opportunity. Zaire, who's been proving so deadly with the opportunities. Pillar sends the core backwards. The dash punch doesn't find what Zaire wants. The big finish comes through, delays this offensive play, allows A to get core control again. The pillar comes through. Pensando had to guess where it'd go, and unfortunately he guessed wrong. Now we are at a critical game or set point for either side here.
Yeah, a really need this one. Do Flying Blobbos to not go this into a tie. But that first barrier is already taken down. You can see that they are pushing up our Polar Cortex. They want this one done and dusted with. One barrier of theirs gets taken, however, Pillar comes out. It's just a very scary situation for both sides, more though for Flying Blobbos, and they are trying to push hard, and it seems like they are very aware of what the goal here is as they try everything. They are launching everything to try and get that second pillar down, to try and get that goal barrier.
Yeah, and pendulum swing from Nimcad going to get called out by the Sentry. John, the flips here is going to work with. He has to strike correctly, and Pensando doesn't. Unfortunately, strikes early, and that allows Nimcad to sink it in safely. 3-0 answer here in game number 2. We're going to be going to a game number 3.
Just a very nice game, all in all. A very nice comeback for Polar Cortex. They realized what they needed to do to fix themselves up and get that game under control. They looked almost like a completely different team out there, and if they can keep this going up into the last game here, then they will be sitting pretty. Well, pretty-ish.
Yeah, and there's nothing quite like the feeling of being advantaged in game number 3, especially when the nerves start to kick in. We'll see if either team will be able to keep it cool, though, as we wrap up this series in the next game. Stay tuned. Game number 3 is here. Flying Blobbos, who are so far this season winless, looking to end their first third of the season with at least something under their belts. And on the flip side, we have got Polar Cortex currently sitting 1-1, does not want to end their start of the season negative. Either position is going to be precarious should they lose their game. And we're going to Taiko Temple. Interestingly, this is a Taiko Temple, and neither team opting in to the melee goalies. We did see an Asher Band coming out from Flying Blobbos, but the Atlas is still there, the Dubu's still there. So this is a choice that the Fool has made for himself. And on the flip side, the Polar Cortex finally deciding to respect ban. That Juliet from Zaire has been a thorn in their side this entire series, and looking to throw Zaire off his game coming in to this final final match, I'd say. So we'll see which one ends up happening. One thing to think about as well, the Juno picked away, gonna go onto I, incredibly strong. But this fight or flight Monumentalist start as well is something that's gonna be a bit dangerous. Monumentalist picked up by Pensando and no one else. We'll see how this game shakes up, but both teams are incredibly hungry for this win.
Yeah, they are going to be moving rather fast just because of that fight or flight. So expect a lot of interceptions that normally wouldn't happen, especially once the awakenings start getting picked up. You know they're going to want to kind of like either build on that or just take advantage of what they have otherwise. And I can expect that, you know, you're in the bounce house. It's always going to be a little bit more chaotic than normal. Basically like that, got hooked straight into the center drum and then kicked out back to their own goal. So expect a lot more of that, and expect this team to try and push their numbers advantage.
Right now we're seeing a lot of KOs, a lot of flips being traded right now. The Fool, good proactive use of the card, but he's still got a goal to defend right now. Fireman looking to maybe get it. Game Chaotic finds a KO now. Looking to convert here on the power play. It's going to be found here by I think Zaire, an unfortunate whiplash. It's going to be the thing that caused it. Regardless, it's probably going to go the way of Polar Cortex regardless. Now Fireman in backup though has this Estelle, this Rasmus Estelle combo, obviously going to be incredibly dangerous for this FINII to deal with. Should they get the opportunity, and they might just get that right now. The piercing shot comes through, Full able to clear topside. Clear by I, a little dangerous, but mitigated by some good strike positioning. Now Full comes through for Name Chaotic, the Full possession of core, big finishes there as well. Almost an own goal, but the strike reset saves him. The card comes through, good defense coming out to start the game here. We'll see though if it means anything right now. Name Chaotic barely missing out on the goal here, but it eventually goes in. Gonna be I with the Juno, or sorry, A. I always mix those two up. With the Juno here, looking to even it up.
So yeah, very nice start from both of them. Good on A to be able to like get those slimes out and get them in a good position to be able to like intercept and allow for a bit more sustained offense, especially in a map like this. That's going to be very critical. And somehow that barrier does not fall. Incredible. And honestly, good defense right back from Pesando. So you can already see like the defense is out here for this game. So wild stuff coming out there. Name Chaotic definitely trying to make something happy. He is not Mary Poppins, but he is trying to make some magic. And otherwise, it is this incredible defense from A in the full that's backing them up. So they need to find a way through that. Do this team, and if they can't, then there's going to be a bit of a trouble for blobbos.
Absolutely agreed. A, unfortunately, going to be taken out. And Chaotic with his flip, though, that's going to be really dangerous. Can opt to get a flip-for-flip trade pretty much at any point here in the overtime, especially, right, those Game 3 nerves have to be kicking in, as this is potentially a season-defining series that you've got ahead of you. A, sending the core forward past Fighter Madden. Name Chaotic finds a KO out of nowhere. I have genuinely no idea what caused that. What? Name Chaotic with a goal as well. What was that? That was an amazing play. I didn't even notice it. I'm watching the game.
That was Name Chaotic. I could have sworn that was A getting a blob in their face, although I may have been tripping myself. So it's just a testament to like what the kind of magic that these teams are pulling out here in order to make sure that their records start and maintain like a little more positive than they are at this moment. You know Flying Blobbos definitely wants this, but you also know Polar Cortex is not going to be funning around with what they have to prove here.
Absolutely. I think as of right now, we've been watching the Brawlers pretty much this entire series. Both of them had absolutely stellar performances, and that's just going to be looking to continue. Zyre potentially looking for a hero play, but it's Name Chaotic with the dribble. The triple take keeps the core forward. Name Chaotic tries to pass it up to the midfielder, not able to though. That's a bit of a slow play, comes out to end the power play, but Name Chaotic wins the strike war, sends it in the first set. Goes the way of Polar Cortex. Name Chaotic, absolutely amazing play. It is going to be the full though with MVP.
Yeah, that is just one that's weird. I still think that Name Chaotic would have had the MVP, but in general, just that was a tough situation for Pensando to be in. You had that Juno up there ready and waiting, and you had a Kazan below that. Both of them very capable of intercepting any clears like by themselves. So that was just it was just a very, very frightening situation. I don't blame them. And you can see that already that Juno is starting to spark up, although I am also definitely looking at Pasando with that extra special, definitely going to help in keeping the team like a little bit more coherent and cohesive. And Fire Madden actually with those aerials that are going to make things just a little, that's going to make them in general like a lot more dangerous, really.
I think personally, in my own evaluation, it really feels like Full getting bulk up right, probably the best standalone awakening in the game. I getting a one spark, the only spark to show so far, setting himself up for scaling. And not to mention the Name Chaotic with the primetime Kazan against the range goalie. It's going to be so hard to deny him some of these offensive plays. So Polar Cortex looking phenomenal coming into this second set. Things are really looking on the up and up for them. And if this continues, Zyre is going to have to make some miracle plays in order to even up the game. Does have the tools for that, right? Did get the side, but as a Name Chaotic finds the KO, sends it down. Pensando not ready for that strike. And that is going to be another point for Polar Cortex. They're on a roll. They're looking to steamroll their way. They're aiming to close out the series with a stomp. And they are hungry for their second win in the North American Strikers Academy. A double barrier found by the Fools, and things are just looking on the up and up. Name Chaotic, A actually credited with the goal. It feels like they're just firing on all cylinders. That was a 7-second goal.
Yeah, that was crazy. Like, I doing it very good. Name Chaotic basically shaking Pisando out of their shoes and just prove it that with that, like you kind of said, with that prime time, they are a terrible, terrible force to be reckoned with. Like, do not catch them in the ones. They will, like, just style all over you, it seems like, at this point in time. So they need to find an answer to that, whether it's just like quick goals in return or trying to take them out or something, because that is a very scary Kazan.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the scary Kazan wasn't able to find the KO. If he did, it would just be the recovery on the triple take, almost leading to an own goal, but the Fool able to find a back line clear. The Rose Warp doesn't come through. Zyra able to find the pull, though. Name Chaotic finds a pull of his own, gets this flip out from Pensando. Pass goes down to Fireman, but now it's a power play in favor of Polar Cortex. Pensando looking to defend here in the situation. The card comes through. The Fool has flip to play with, but as we enter overtime, this could be a deadly amount of core speed. Oh no, a little bit is lag, it seems, from Zyra. Unfortunately, gives it up, but the piercing shot from Fireman and maybe looking to end it here. Still has flip to work with. The Death Touch doesn't find the value that Zyra wants. Flip comes through, waits out all the tools that Pensando has, and Name Chaotic is the man. He sends it right in, a 3-0 set in favor of Polar Cortex, and they are on a rampage.
Yeah, very, very deserved MVP there. Just very, very scary Kazan. And you can see, like, they got that built impact, heavy impact if you're feeling cheeky. Mel, maybe prize fighter. The way that Name Chaotic has been playing, there's a lot they could get, but they go for the built different, safe, understandable. In general, it just feels like all the tools and all the momentum is in the favor of Polar Cortex. And although this is not a bad draft for Flying Blobbos, they are going to have to put in some work to kind of recover from this. Although I do like the explosive entrance and the missile propulsion. That is definitely going to help with some coverage and basically trying to stuff out a little bit more of these like hellacious offenses that Polar Cortex has been getting off.
And one thing to mention as well, I with the 2 sparks means that even if you win this set, you're going to be probably eating a 3-spark Juno with the agility, with the cooldowns, and if she gets a spark, that's going to be red coring basically at all points. So very, very scary position for the Flying Blobbos to get in, and they may not even get to that point because Polar Cortex have now opened up the map. Name Chaotic looking good with a flip. It's going to be responded to. 3 members of Flying Blobbos here, but they're not able to find the goal. A going for the triple take, not able to find too much value right now. Name Chaotic unfortunately finds the whiff with a flip. Now the Fool has a flip of his own, going to use it. And this is potentially an opportunity, but no, as soon as it started, it's ended. Name Chaotic finds the goal yet again against Pensando, and Polar Cortex continue their rampage.
Like, that was just impressive. An impressive anti-clear from Name Chaotic. Pisando tried to clear it up north. Name Chaotic said, where are you going with that? That's my core, thank you very much. Yoink! Pulled it down and shoved it in. It's like, let me put that where it needs to be. So, again, that is just something that is going to be hard for Flying Blobbos to stop. They don't quite have that kind of interceptability that this team of Polar Cortex has, although they are doing their best to shut it down. You can see that it's taking tolls on their life, but if they can score, then, you know, all is forgiven. But that's still an if.
Right. And right now, so far, the barrier defense has been mounted. It is an open net, but the side of Polar Cortex holds the Fool. Gonna have to play for his life in his own net here. Zyra, 1 or 2 cooldowns in the way from sinking in that kill, maybe. But it might not mean anything if that goal is scored here. Flip from Pensando, needed to keep the core forward, but it's just defended away. Name Chaotic possession of the core yet again. A marching the core forward, gets that final goal barrier. Overtime's here. The primetime pull, not able to reach the first one. The second one, though, might come through. Zyra needs to score right now, or it might be curtains for the side of Flying Blobbos. Pensando stepping up to the plate, giving his own opportunity a shot as well. Not going to find it as the core goes forward, but A finds himself with the core yet again. It goes finally to Zyra, but the whiplash just not big enough. Name Chaotic with a strike, gets it through again. And Flying Blobbos cannot contain Name Chaotic. He is 1 point away from absolutely marching his team into a 2-1 position here in the league. Now the court comes through. It seems so scary for Flying Blobbos to mount any sort of comeback, though they are able to get one goal barrier.
Yeah, they need to. This is crunch time. This is do or die, and they do not want to go down like this. Nearly a double barrier gets taken here. On the attack right now. Nice bounce to try and keep it around the center line. Name Chaotic trying to pull up the scariest threat in this game so far, and this is their moment to try and get this barrier down. Flip goes out. They do get the barrier. Open goal. It might be curtains. Bounce goes off the center line, a couple of them, as Name Chaotic is fighting for the core. Right there trying to back him up. It does go out in the second core, and a bit of a reprieve as Zyrate flips down south, and they do get a point on the board. Much needed, but this is only the start of a very tall mountain to climb. It has been climbed before. It can be climbed again, but it is still a mountain, and so you do not want to underestimate it. Don't think you're not even close to out of the woods. You're still not even in the deepest neck of it yet, to be frank.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Right now, even one step is only the marker of an incredibly long journey for the Flying Blobbos, but it might be ended right here. Named Chaotic gets one goalie barrier, flipped defensively from Pensando, cleared with the help of Firemat, and A gets it through though again, and Named Chaotic has yet another shot. So many Blobbos makes the clear impossible. The pull comes through from Zyre though, a potential opportunity, but Named Chaotic has the opportunity to end it here, doesn't get the strike that he needs, but the pull comes through. A here though to capture the clear. Named Chaotic doesn't find the goal, but he finds the KO. This might be the end of Flying Blobbos here. Piercing shot doesn't come through. Named Chaotic, no! No, that's not what you want to see. He's been playing so well so far, but A is the one to finish it. A bit of a mishap. All brawlers are beautiful. And you know what? Named Chaotic had beautiful plays. That last point didn't happen, of course. Maybe he lagged for a second. Been playing phenomenally. It is A that sinks it in, but Named Chaotic, the undoubted MVP of this series, played phenomenally, opened up Pensando, and read him like a book in a lot of these situations. A clean victory here on Taiko Temple for Polar Cortex.
Yeah, so they take it, they go up in the positives for their win-loss record, and unfortunately, Flying Blobbos, they are in the hot seat.
Yeah, they are, and you don't want to see that, right? You're a team that was a series off from the North American Strikers League, and now you find yourself 0-3 in the North American Strikers Academy, right? The pressure has to be mounting, and they are not doomed by any means, right? We are only through, we're only through a third of the season, but we're also through a third of the season, and you're winless, That's not a great position to be in. You have to play, you can only afford to drop maybe a series or two tops if you want your destiny to be in your control for the rest of the regular season, but that's going to be tough, right? Polar Cortex played absolutely phenomenally. They're in a 2-1 position now, which is much more comfortable, got a little bit more breathing room for some of your harder matchups, but that being said, right, not a clean 3-0 either, so they're not out of the woods by any means.
So we are going to have to see and keep an eye on these teams and see how they end up working out. But I believe that is this series done and over with, and we will be out of here, but there will be more to come. Do not fret.